The throne room of the imperial palace stretched higher than any building on Earth. Crystal pillars rose toward a ceiling painted with stars, and hundreds of alien nobles filled the hall. They stood tall, most of them over 7 feet, with silver skin that glowed softly in the light. Wu stood among them, feeling very small. He was the only human in the room. At 5 feet 10 inches, he barely reached the chest of most. His dark hair and tan skin made him stand out like a spot of dirt on clean glass. The aliens around him whispered and pointed. Some laughed quietly behind their long fingers. Wu kept his face calm. He had been on this planet for 6 months now, working as a diplomat for Earth. He was used to the stares. He was used to the jokes. But today was different. Today, the Queen herself would speak. The crowd fell silent as she entered. Queen was 8 feet tall. Her skin was pale silver, almost white, and her eyes glowed with deep violet light. She moved like water, smooth and powerful. A crown of twisted metal sat upon her head, and her long robes trailed behind her like a river of darkness. She was the most beautiful and terrifying being Wu had ever seen. Climbed the steps to her throne and turned to face her people. Her eyes swept across the room and stopped for just a moment on Wu. Her lips curved into a small smile. It was not a kind smile. "My people," she said, her voice filled the hall without effort. "Today we celebrate the 5th year of peace with the outer colonies. Our empire grows stronger, our enemies grow weaker, and yet—" She paused and looked at Wu again. "And yet we have guests among us, small creatures from a small world, humans." The crowd laughed. Wu did not move. "They come from a death world," continued. "A planet of poison air, burning sun, and endless danger. It is amazing they survived at all. Perhaps we should admire their stubbornness." More laughter. Lord the High Counselor stepped forward. He was nearly as tall as the Queen, with sharp features and cold eyes. "Your Majesty," he said loudly, "perhaps we should breed with them, mix our royal blood with theirs. Imagine the children." The whole room erupted in laughter. Herself chuckled, covering her mouth with one elegant hand. "Lord, you speak nonsense," she said. "Our biology is far too advanced. Breeding with humans would be like breeding with insects, impossible by design." Wu felt his face grow warm, but he did not look away. He had heard worse. He had survived worse. The ceremony continued, but Wu stopped listening. He stood quietly, waiting for it to end. His friend Hana had warned him about tonight. She said the Queen enjoyed making humans feel small. It was a game to her. But games could change. 3 hours later, the ceremony finally ended. Wu walked through the palace gardens, breathing the cool night air. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting silver light on the strange flowers around him. He heard footsteps behind him, fast, too fast. Wu turned just in time to see a figure in black rushing toward the Queen's private chambers. The figure held a blade that glowed with green light. An assassin. Wu did not think. He ran. The assassin was fast, but Wu was faster. Years of military training pushed his body forward. He tackled the figure just as it reached the Queen's door. They crashed to the ground together. The blade sliced across Wu's arm. Pain exploded through his body, but he held on. He twisted the assassin's wrist until the weapon fell. Then he struck once, twice, 3 times. The assassin went still. The door burst open. Queen stood there, her eyes wide with shock. Palace guards rushed past her, surrounding the fallen assassin. Looked down at Wu. He was still on the ground, blood pouring from his arm. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady. "You," she whispered, "the human." "Your Majesty," Wu said. His voice was calm, even as his blood stained the white stone floor. "I believe someone wanted to hurt you." For a long moment, said nothing. She simply stared at this small creature who had thrown himself between her and death. Her face showed something Wu had never seen before. Confusion. "Take him to the medical chamber," she ordered. Use the best physicians. He is not to die." The guards lifted Wu carefully. As they carried him away, he heard's voice, soft and strange. "Impossible," she murmured. Wu woke in a bed of white crystal. Soft light filled the room, and the pain in his arm had faded to a dull ache. Bandages wrapped his wound, and a machine beside him hummed quietly. He was alive. The door opened and Queen entered. She was alone. Wu tried to sit up, but she raised one hand. "Do not move," she commanded. "Your wound is still healing." She walked closer and stood beside his bed. This close, she seemed even taller. Her violet eyes studied him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "You saved my life," she said. "Why?" Wu thought about the question. It was the right thing to do. "The right thing," frowned. "I mocked you, I laughed at your kind, I called you insects." "Yes. And still you protected me." Wu looked up at her. "Your Majesty, where I come from, we do not need a reason to help someone. We just do it." Was silent for a long time. Then she spoke, her voice quiet. "By ancient law, I am bound to you now. You shed blood for me. I must personally oversee your recovery. It is a matter of honor." Wu smiled slightly. "That sounds inconvenient for you." Her eyes narrowed. "Do not test me, human." "I would not dream of it, Your Majesty." For a moment, something flickered across her face. It might have been annoyance. It might have been something else. "Rest," she said. "I will return tomorrow." She turned and walked to the door, but before she left, she paused. "What is your name, human?" "Wu." She repeated it slowly, as if tasting the sounds. "Wu, a strange name." "It means great and excellent," he said. "My mother had high hopes." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. Then she was gone. 3 days later, Wu was well enough to attend a private dinner with the Queen and her council. Lord was there, his cold eyes watching Wu with clear hatred. "So," said loudly, "the little hero joins us. Tell me, human, do you think saving the Queen once makes you our equal?" "No," Wu replied calmly. "I think nothing makes anyone equal. We simply are what we are." Laughed. Philosophy from a creature whose species still fights over dirt and water. How charming. "At least we have something worth fighting for," Wu said. The table went silent, watched the exchange with sharp eyes. Leaned forward. "You know what I find amusing? The idea that humans could ever truly mix with us. Your scientists dream of partnership, of alliance, of—" He grinned. "Of breeding. As if your weak blood could ever touch ours." The other council members laughed, smiled behind her glass of wine. "Lord speaks truth," she said. "Such a union would be genetically impossible. Our bodies are simply too different." Wu said nothing for a moment. Then he lifted his own glass and took a small sip. "Your Majesty," he said, "in my experience, humans have a way of making the impossible happen. We are stubborn like that." Smile faded. She looked at him, really looked at him, and something passed between them. A spark, a challenge. "Perhaps," she said softly, "but some things are impossible even for humans." Wu held her gaze. "We shall see." That night, long after the dinner ended, stood alone on her balcony. The twin moons shone down on her silver skin, and the cold wind touched her face. She could not stop thinking about the human. His calm eyes, his quiet voice, the way he had thrown himself in front of a blade for her. "Impossible," she whispered to the night. But somewhere deep inside her, a new feeling was growing, and she did not know its name. 2 weeks after the assassination attempt, Queen sent for Wu. It was late at night. The palace was quiet. A servant led him through long hallways until they reached a small garden hidden behind the royal chambers. Stood there alone, her silver skin glowing under the moonlight. "You came," she said. She sounded almost surprised. "You summoned me, Your Majesty. I did not think I had a choice." "You always have a choice." She turned to face him. "That is something I am learning about humans." Wu stepped closer. The garden was beautiful, filled with flowers that sang softly in the wind. He had never seen anything like it. "Why did you call me here?" he asked. Did not answer right away. She walked along a stone path and Wu followed. They moved in silence until they reached a small pond filled with glowing fish. "I have been thinking about what you said," she finally spoke, "about humans making the impossible happen." "It was just words, Your Majesty." "No," she looked at him sharply. "It was not just words, you meant it. I could see it in your eyes." Wu met her gaze. "I meant it." "Then explain it to me." She sat down on a stone bench and gestured for him to sit beside her. After a moment he did. "Explain how a species so small and weak has survived. Explain how you have spread across the stars in just a few centuries. Explain." She paused. "Explain why you saved me." Wu thought carefully before answering. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'What does not kill you makes you stronger.' Humans are not strong because we never face danger. We are strong because we face danger every day and refuse to die." "But you are so fragile," said. "Your bodies break so easily." "Yes, and yet we keep going, we heal, we adapt, we love." Love frowned. "What does love have to do with survival?" Wu smiled. "Everything." Over the next 2 months, these secret meetings became regular. Once a week, then twice, then almost every night. Told the court she was studying human culture for diplomatic purposes. No one questioned the queen. But the truth was different. She was fascinated by Wu, not just by his stories of Earth, but by him, by the way he spoke without fear, by the way he smiled when she said something foolish, by the way he treated her like a person instead of a queen. No one had ever done that before. "Tell me about human families," she said one night. They sat in her private study, surrounded by books and star maps. "How do you choose your mates?" Wu laughed. "We do not choose the way you do. There is no genetic testing, no council approval. We simply fall in love." "Fall in love," repeated the word slowly. "That sounds painful." "It can be, but it is also beautiful. When you love someone, you give them a piece of yourself. You trust them with your heart." Was quiet for a long moment. "Do not love, we respect, we admire, we form alliances, but love," she shook her head. "Love is for weaker species." "Or stronger ones," Wu said softly. She looked at him. Something in her chest felt tight, but she did not know why. "You are a strange creature, Wu." "So I have been told." Their conversations grew deeper. Found herself sharing things she had never told anyone. Her fears about ruling alone, her loneliness at the top of an empire, her secret dream of seeing Earth with her own eyes. Wu listened. He always listened. "You would love Earth," he told her one night. "The mountains and the oceans, the cities full of life, the way the sun sets over the water in colors you cannot imagine." "It sounds dangerous," she said. "It is, but that is what makes it beautiful." Then came the day of the trial. Lord announced it publicly in front of the entire court. He challenged Wu to a traditional test of strength. The rules were simple. Both fighters would enter a ring. They would fight until one could no longer stand. "Surely the human hero is not afraid," said with a cold smile. "Or perhaps saving the queen was just luck." Wu stood calmly. "I accept." The court gasped, gripped the arms of her throne. She wanted to stop this, to forbid it, but she could not. The challenge had been made publicly. To refuse would mean admitting that humans were indeed inferior. The trial took place 3 days later. Thousands have filled the arena. They cheered for their champion. They laughed at the small human who dared to face him. Wu entered the ring wearing simple clothes, wore ceremonial armor that gleamed like gold. The difference in size was almost comical, was nearly 8 feet tall. His arms were thick with muscle. "I will try not to kill you quickly," said. "I want to enjoy this." Wu said nothing. He simply watched and waited. The bell rang. charged forward with incredible speed. His fist swung toward Wu's head with enough force to crush stone, but Wu was not there. He moved to the side, letting the giant stumble past. The crowd murmured in surprise. Attacked again and again. Each time Wu dodged. He did not try to fight back. He simply moved, flowing like water around every blow. "Stand still and fight," roared. "Why?" Wu asked calmly. "So you can hit me." Minutes passed, then an hour, was breathing hard now. Sweat dripped from his silver skin. Wu looked tired but steady. "You cannot win by running," panted. "I am not trying to win," Wu replied. "I am trying to survive." Another hour passed, could barely lift his arms. His attacks grew slow and clumsy. The crowd had stopped laughing. They watched in stunned silence. Finally fell to his knees. He could not stand. He could not fight. Wu walked toward him and looked down. "Yield," he said simply. Stared up at him with hatred and disbelief. But he had no choice. His body had failed him. "I yield," he whispered. The arena exploded with noise. Some cheered, some cursed, but everyone stared at the human who had defeated their champion without throwing a single punch. Wu turned and walked out of the ring. His eyes found in the royal box. She was standing, her lips parted, her violet eyes shining with something he had never seen before. That night there was a celebration. Stood before her court and spoke words that shocked everyone. "Today a human showed us something important," she said. "Strength is not only about power, it is about will, about endurance, about the refusal to give up." She raised her glass. "To Wu, a worthy representative of humanity." The court drank. Even those who hated humans had to admit what they had seen. After the celebration, found Wu alone on a balcony. He was looking up at the stars, his face peaceful. "You could have fought back," she said. "Why did you not?" "I did not need to hurt him to win," Wu replied. "I only needed to outlast him." Moved closer, closer than she had ever been before. She could smell him now, a warm and strange scent that made her heart beat faster. "You are full of surprises, Wu." He turned to face her. They were very close now. She towered over him, but somehow in that moment they felt equal. "So are you, Your Majesty." She should have walked away. She should have remembered who she was and what he was. She should have thought about her empire, her bloodline, her duty. But she did not. She reached out and touched his face. Her silver fingers traced his cheek, his jaw, his lips. He did not move. He did not breathe. "This is impossible," she whispered. "Yes," he agreed. She leaned down, her lips met his. The universe seemed to stop. When they finally pulled apart, his eyes were wide. Her whole body was shaking. "That should not have happened," she said. "No," Wu agreed, "it should not have." But neither of them moved away. Later, much later, lay in her chambers and stared at the ceiling. Wu was gone. She had sent him away, telling herself it was just a moment of weakness, a biological curiosity, nothing more. Their bodies were incompatible. Everyone knew that. Human and could never produce offspring. It was genetically impossible. "Just an experiment," she told herself. "Nothing will come of it." But deep inside, something had changed. A door had opened that could never be closed. And in the silence of the night, finally admitted the truth she had been fighting for months. She felt something for this human, something strong, something terrifying. Something that might be love. 6 weeks passed. Stood at her window, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. She should have felt strong. She should have felt powerful. She was the queen of the greatest empire in the galaxy. Instead, she felt sick. The nausea had started a week ago. At first, she thought it was stress. Running an empire was not easy. There were meetings and decisions and endless problems to solve. Any ruler would feel tired. But then came the hunger. Had never been a big eater. Did not need much food. Their bodies were efficient, designed to survive on little. But now she was starving all the time. She ate 3 times her normal amount and still felt empty. Then her senses changed. She could smell things she had never noticed before: the flowers in her garden, the cleaning chemicals used on the palace floors, the perfume worn by servants 3 rooms away. Every scent was stronger, sharper, almost overwhelming. Something was wrong with her body, something she could not explain. "Your Majesty, you should see a physician," her handmaiden said one morning after nearly fainted during breakfast. Wanted to refuse. She hated showing weakness, but she could not ignore this any longer. "Send for physician Myra," she ordered, "and tell no one." Myra was old for her, with gray streaks in her silver hair and kind eyes that had seen many secrets. She was one of the few people trusted completely. The examination took place in private chambers. Myra used scanning devices and drew samples of blood. She frowned at the results, then ran the tests again and again. "Your Majesty," she finally said, her voice was careful, "I need to ask you something personal." "Ask." "Have you been with anyone recently, in an intimate way?" Felt her face grow warm. "That is none of your concern." "I am afraid it is." Myra took a deep breath. "Your Majesty, you are pregnant." The words hung in the air like thunder. "That is impossible," said. "I have not genetic preparation. I have not selected a breeding partner from the council. The process takes years of—" "I know," Myra interrupted gently, "but the tests are clear. You are carrying a child, and the genetic signature—" She paused. "The genetic signature is unlike anything I have ever seen. Half something else." Swirled tilted. She grabbed the edge of her desk to keep from falling. "Half human," she whispered. Myra's eyes widened. "Your Majesty." "Half human," felt like she was drowning. "The father is human." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Myra looked at her queen with a mixture of shock and something else, something that might have been wonder. "That should be impossible," Myra said quietly. "Our species are not compatible. The genetic structures are completely different, for conception to occur naturally without any scientific intervention." "But it did occur." "Yes," Myra nodded slowly. "It did." Sank into a chair. Her hands were shaking. Her mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, none of them good. If the council learned about this, there would be chaos. A hybrid child, a human father, the pure bloodline of the royal family mixed with alien genes, would use it to destroy her. The empire would tear itself apart. "No one can know about this," said. Her voice was hard now, the voice of a queen. "No one, Myra, do you understand?" "I understand," Myra bowed her head. "But Your Majesty, what will you do? The child will grow, people will notice. You cannot hide a pregnancy forever." "I will think of something," closed her eyes. "For now we keep this secret, we tell no one." Not even the father. Thought of Wu, his kind eyes, his gentle smile, the way he had held her that night like she was precious and fragile instead of powerful and feared. Especially not the father. But secrets have a way of escaping. Hana was a human working in the palace medical labs. She had been stationed on for 3 years, studying alien biology and searching for ways to help humans adapt to new worlds. She was also Wu's closest friend. One evening, Hana was working late when Myra entered the lab. The old physician looked tired and worried. She did not notice Hana sitting quietly in the corner. Myra went to a computer terminal and began entering data. Hana should have announced herself. She should have left the room. Instead, she watched. And she saw. The genetic scan on the screen was unmistakable. A hybrid embryo, and human DNA woven together in impossible patterns. And the label at the top of the file read, "Royal Patient Classified." Hana's heart stopped. The queen was pregnant with a human child. There was only one human who had ever been close enough to the queen for this to happen. Hana left the lab quietly, Her mind was spinning. She needed to think. She needed to understand what this meant. But most of all, she needed to tell Wu. She found him in his quarters, reading a book about history. He looked up when she entered and smiled. "Hana, you look like you have seen a ghost." "Maybe I have." She sat down across from him and took a deep breath. "Wu, I need to tell you something, and you need to stay calm." He put down his book. His smile faded. "What is it?" Hana told him everything. The genetic scan, the hybrid embryo, the classified file. When she finished, Wu sat in complete silence. His face showed nothing, but his hands were gripping the arms of his chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "A child," he finally said. "She is carrying my child." "It seems so. And she did not tell me." "She does not know that you know." Hana leaned forward. "Wu, this is dangerous. If the wrong people find out, both of you could be in serious trouble. The queen, the child, you, everyone is at risk." "I need to see her." "That might not be wise." But Wu was already standing. His face was calm, but something burned in his eyes, something fierce and protective. "I need to see her now." He requested an audience with the queen. To his surprise, she agreed. Perhaps she was curious. Perhaps she was lonely. Or perhaps, somewhere deep inside, she had been waiting for him to come. They met in her private garden, under the silver light of the twin moons. Stood with her back to him, looking at the glowing flowers. "You wanted to see me," she said. Her voice was cold, distant. "I know," Wu said simply. Turned, her violet eyes were sharp. "You know what?" "About the child, our child." Her face went pale. For a moment she looked like she might collapse. Then the mask returned, harder than before. "Who told you?" "It does not matter." Wu stepped closer. "What matters is that you did not tell me." "Why should I?" Her voice rose with anger. "This is my body, my empire, my problem to solve." "Our child," Wu said firmly. "Our problem together." Laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Together? What can you possibly do? You are one human. I am fighting for my throne, my bloodline, everything I have ever known. If the council finds out, then we will face them together." She stared at him. "You do not understand. They will want to destroy this child. They will call it an abomination, a contamination of the royal line. Then we will protect it together." How? Tears gathered in her eyes, the first tears Wu had ever seen from her. "How can you protect us against an entire empire?" Wu crossed the remaining distance between them. He reached up and took her face in his hands, gently, the way he had done on that impossible night. "I do not know how," he said honestly, "but I know that I am not going anywhere. Whatever you decide, whatever happens, I will stand beside you. I will not leave you alone." Broke. The tears came, silent and silver on her cheeks. She fell against him, her tall body curving down to meet his. He held her as she cried, this powerful queen who had never shown weakness to anyone. "I am scared," she whispered. "For the first time in my life I am truly scared." "I know," Wu said. "So am I, but we will be scared together." They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, while the moons moved slowly across the sky. Neither of them knew what the future would bring. They did not know that Lord had spies watching the palace. They did not know that secrets were already beginning to leak. But in that moment, none of that mattered. For the first time since learning the truth, felt something other than fear. She felt hope. And in her womb, the impossible child grew stronger. The months that followed were the happiest and most terrifying of life. Wu came to her every night. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He told her stories about Earth, about his childhood in Korea, about the mountains and seas of his. She told him about the weight of the crown, the loneliness of power, the dreams she had buried long ago. Slowly, carefully, they built something new, something neither of them had expected. They built a family. Learned to laugh again. She learned that strength was not always about standing alone. She learned that accepting help was not weakness but wisdom. And she learned what love truly meant. "I never thought I would feel this way," she told Wu one night. Her hand rested on her growing belly. The child moved inside her, strong and alive. "Are taught that emotion is dangerous, that caring too much makes you vulnerable." "It does make you vulnerable," Wu agreed. "But it also makes you stronger. When you have something to protect, you will fight harder than you ever thought possible." Smiled, "You humans and your strange wisdom. We have had a lot of practice surviving against impossible odds." The pregnancy was carefully hidden, wore loose robes, and avoided public appearances. Myra monitored the child's growth and reported that everything was healthy, better than healthy, actually. The hybrid genetics seemed to combine the best of both species. "The child is strong," Myra told them with wonder in her voice. "Stronger than any pure infant I have ever seen. Human DNA is remarkable. It adapts to everything." Hana was conducting her own research in the palace labs. What she discovered changed everything. "I think I understand now," she told Wu, and during a secret meeting. "Human DNA is not weak. It is flexible. It can bond with almost any genetic structure in the galaxy." "What does that mean?" asked. "It means humans are not the fragile species everyone thinks we are." Hana's eyes were bright with excitement. "We are the universe's most compatible species. We can form connections, biological connections, with races that should be completely incompatible." "That is why the child exists," Wu said softly. "Human adaptability made the impossible possible." "Exactly," Hana nodded. "This child is proof that humans belong among the stars, not as inferiors but as partners, as bridges between species." For a moment hope filled the room, but hope does not last forever. Lord had not forgotten his humiliation in the arena. He had not forgotten the human who made him kneel, and he had spies everywhere. One of those spies worked in Myra's medical lab. The morning the truth leaked was in her chambers reading reports. The door burst open, and one of her loyal guards rushed in. "Your Majesty, you must hide. Lord has called an emergency council meeting. He claims to have proof of." The guard could not finish the sentence. His blood went cold. "He knows." The council chamber was filled with angry voices when arrived. Lords and ladies of the great houses stood in clusters, shouting and arguing. At the center of the storm stood, his cold eyes bright with triumph. "Ah, the Queen finally joins us," he said loudly. The room fell silent. "We were just discussing your condition, Your Majesty." Lifted her chin. She would not show fear. "What condition would that be, Lord?" "The condition of carrying a half-breed child, a human child," spat the words like poison. "The contamination of our royal bloodline." The room erupted in chaos. Some lords cried out in horror. Others demanded proof. A few, surprisingly, said nothing at all, their faces thoughtful. Raised his hand, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. Recognized it instantly. The genetic scan from Myra's lab. "The proof speaks for itself," declared. "Our queen has been seduced by a human animal. She carries his spawn in her womb. She has betrayed everything our empire stands for." "I have betrayed nothing," said. Her voice was steady, ringing across the chamber. "I am your queen. I answer to no one." "You answer to the council," roared. "You answer to the laws of our people. No alien blood may sit upon the throne. Your child is an abomination. And you—" He pointed at her with one long finger. "You must abdicate or be removed by force." The council split in two. Some stood with their faces twisted with disgust, but others moved to the side, their expressions determined. "The queen has served us well for 30 years, said Lady, one of the oldest nobles. "A child does not change that." "A hybrid child changes everything," shouted. "Perhaps change is what we need," another lord replied quietly. The argument raged for hours. In the end, nothing was decided. Did not have enough support to force abdication, but did not have enough support to silence him completely. That night the attacks began. Assassins came in the darkness, 3 of them slipping through the palace like shadows. They made it past the outer guards and the inner corridors. They reached the door of chambers. They did not expect to find Wu waiting for them. He had been sleeping in a small room connected to chambers, ready for exactly this moment. When he heard the soft footsteps outside the door, he moved without thinking. The first assassin died quickly, Wu's blade finding his throat before he could react. The second fought back, their weapons clashing in the darkness. Wu took a cut across his ribs but did not stop. He pushed forward, drove his knee into the assassin's stomach, and ended him with a sharp twist of steel. The third assassin reached his bedroom. She was awake now, standing with her back against the wall, one hand on her belly. The assassin raised his blade, and Wu threw his knife. It buried itself in the assassin's back. He fell at its feet, his weapon clattering harmlessly to the floor. Palace guards arrived moments later, too late to help, but in time to see the aftermath. Wu stood in the doorway, bleeding and breathing hard, surrounded by the bodies of those who had tried to hurt his family. Word spread quickly. The human had fought off 3 assassins alone. The human had protected the queen and her child with nothing but a blade and his bare hands. Public opinion began to shift. Perhaps humans are not so weak after all, people whispered. Perhaps there is more to them than we thought. Grew desperate, his plan was falling apart. If he could not win through politics, he would win through war. He gathered his loyal forces and prepared to march on the palace. He would take the throne by force and kill anyone who stood in his way. The human, the queen, the unborn child. All of them would burn. The night before the battle went into early labor. The stress was too much. Her body could not wait any longer. Pain ripped through her as she collapsed in her chambers, crying out for help. Myra came running. She examined and turned pale. "The child is coming now," she said. "We cannot stop it." Wu burst into the room, his face wild with fear. "Is she going to be okay? Is the baby going to survive?" "I do not know," Myra admitted. "The child is early, and hybrid births are unpredictable." Grabbed Wu's hand. Her grip was strong enough to bruise. "Do not leave me," she gasped between contractions. "Promise me." "I will never leave you," he said. "I swear it." But even as he spoke, he could hear the sounds of war outside. Forces were approaching the palace gates. The final battle was about to begin. He had to choose, stay with or fight for their future. He looked at her face, twisted with pain. He looked at her belly, where their child was fighting to be born. And he made his choice. "Hana," he called. His friend appeared in the doorway, her face grim. "Stay with her. Do not let anyone near her." "Where are you going?" Wu picked up his blade and walked toward the door. "To protect my family." Outside, the sounds of battle grew louder. Fire lit the night sky, and somewhere in the chaos screamed as new life struggled to enter the world. The battle for the palace raged through the night. Forces crashed against the gates like waves against stone. They outnumbered the queen's loyalists 3-1. Victory seemed certain. The old ways would triumph. The human would die. The abomination would be destroyed. But they had not counted on Wu. He stood at the front lines beside the palace guards, a single human among giants. The enemy soldiers laughed when they saw him. They remembered the arena where he had won by running and hiding. They expected him to do the same. They were wrong. Wu fought like a man possessed. His blade moved in patterns they had never seen, human combat techniques refined over thousands of years of endless war. He was smaller and weaker, but he was faster, smarter, more desperate. He had something to protect. When one guard fell, Wu took his place. When the line broke, Wu filled the gap. He took wounds that should have killed him and kept fighting. Blood soaked his clothes, but his eyes never lost their fire. The enemy soldiers began to hesitate. This human was not afraid. This human would not stop. This human was willing to die for a queen who was not even his own species. "What are you?" one soldier whispered before Wu's blade found him. "I am a father," Wu answered, "and you will not touch my child." Inside the palace screamed. The birth was happening too fast. Her body was not ready. The child was positioned wrong. Myra worked desperately, using every tool and technique she knew, but she could not stop the bleeding. "She is losing too much blood," Myra said to Hana. Her voice was tight with fear. "If this continues, I might lose them both." Hana grabs hand. "Listen to me. You are the strongest person I have ever met, human or you do not get to give up now." Violet eyes found hers. "The baby," she gasped. "Save the baby." "We are saving both of you." Hana's voice was fierce. "Now push." Pushed. She screamed with a voice that shook the walls. She pushed again and again, her body fighting against itself until finally. A cry. Small and strong and perfect. Myra lifted the child and tears streamed down her silver cheeks. "A girl," she said. "Your Majesty, you have a daughter." The baby was beautiful. Her skin was pale silver with hints of warm pink like a sunrise over snow. Her eyes, when they opened, were violet like her mother's but shaped like her father's. Dark hair, soft as silk, covered her tiny head. She was impossible, she was perfect. Reached for her daughter with trembling hands. The baby stopped crying the moment she touched her mother's skin. She looked up with ancient eyes, as if she already understood everything. Whispered, the name Wu had chosen from his language. It meant glass, delicate-looking but unbreakable. "Welcome to the universe, little one." Outside, the battle turned. Forces had pushed through the outer defenses. They were approaching the inner palace, victory almost in their grasp. Wu and the remaining guards fought desperately, but they were running out of time. Then the sky lit up. Ships appeared above the palace, dozens of them, sleek and powerful, bearing the flag of Earth. Ambassador One's voice echoed through the night, broadcast on every channel. "Attention, forces. This is Ambassador Park, one of the Earth Alliance. Any attack on our diplomatic personnel or their families will be considered an act of war against humanity. Stand down immediately or face the consequences." The battlefield froze. Soldiers looked up at the ships above them. Everyone knew what human weapons could do. Everyone remembered the wars humanity had fought and won against species far more powerful than themselves. The soldiers began to lower their weapons. "No," screamed, "keep fighting, they are bluffing." But no one listened. One by one, his forces surrendered. The rebellion collapsed in moments, destroyed not by violence but by fear of what humanity could do. Was dragged before the palace steps, his hands bound, his face twisted with rage. He spat at Wu's feet. "You have ruined everything," he snarled. "You and your filthy kind. You have contaminated our bloodline, corrupted our queen, destroyed our future." Wu looked at him calmly. Blood still dripped from his wounds, but he stood tall. "No," he said, "we have given you a new future, one where you do not have to be alone among the stars." Had no answer. 3 days later, stood before her empire. The great hall was filled with every noble, every lord, every citizen who could fit inside. Holographic projectors carried her image to every corner of space. Billions watched and waited. In her arms she held, at her side stood Wu. "My people," said, her voice was strong, stronger than it had ever been. "I know you have heard rumors, I know you have doubts, so let me speak plainly." She lifted so everyone could see. "This is my daughter, her father is human. She carries both our bloodlines, and she is the future of our empire." The crowd murmured. Some faces showed disgust, others showed wonder. I will not apologize, continued. I will not hide. I will not pretend that what happened was wrong, because it was not wrong. It was beautiful. She looked at Wu. He smiled. Humans taught me something our people forgot long ago. They taught me that love is not weakness, that connection is not contamination, that the universe is better when we face it together, not alone. She turned back to the crowd. Lord believed that humans would destroy us, but look at what happened. A human saved my life. A human stood beside me when my own people turned against me. A human fought for my child as if she were his own, because she is his own. Her voice rose. We called humans weak. We called them inferior. We were wrong. They are strong in ways we never understood, and together we can be stronger than either of us alone. She raised one hand. I declare a new era of alliance between and Earth. Let this child be the symbol of what we can build together. Let her be the bridge between our worlds. The silence stretched. Then slowly someone began to clap. Lady, the old noble who had defended in the council. Then another lord. Then another. The applause spread like fire, growing louder and louder until it shook the walls. Not everyone clapped. Some faces remained hard and angry, but they were the minority now. Change had begun. As Force's sentence surprised everyone, she did not execute him. She did not imprison him. You will serve as ambassador to Earth, she declared. You will live among the humans you despise. You will learn from them, and perhaps in time you will understand what I have learned. It was worse than death for him, and it was mercy he did not deserve. But it was Wu's suggestion, and was learning that mercy could be its own kind of strength. 6 months later, stood in the palace gardens, watching Wu teach to walk. The baby was growing faster than expected. Hana said her hybrid genetics were accelerating her development. She was strong and healthy, with her mother's grace and her father's stubborn determination. She took 3 steps, wobbled, and fell into Wu's arms. He laughed and lifted her high, and she giggled with pure joy. Felt her heart swell with something she could barely name. This moment, this family, this impossible life. I have been thinking, she said softly. Wu looked at her. That sounds dangerous. She smiled. Do you remember what you said to me that night after the dinner, about humans making the impossible happen? I remember. She walked to him and took his free hand in hers. Even now she towered over him, but somehow when they stood together, they seemed the same height. I laughed at you, she said. I thought you were foolish, a small creature with big dreams. And now I understand. She looked at their daughter, their miracle. Humans do not make the impossible happen through strength alone. You do it through stubbornness, through hope, through the refusal to accept that anything is truly impossible. Wu smiled. That is the nicest thing you have ever said about my species. Do not let it go to your head. But she was smiling too. That night they stood together on the balcony where they had first kissed. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting silver light over the sleeping city. Was asleep in her chamber, guarded by loyal soldiers and watched over by Hana. The empire was at peace. The future was uncertain but bright. I used to laugh at the idea of us, said quietly. A queen and a human, a child that should not exist, a love that made no sense. And now, Wu asked. She turned to him. Her violet eyes glowed in the moonlight. Now I cannot imagine my life any other way. He reached up and touched her face, the same way he had done on that impossible night so long ago. Neither can I. She leaned down, their lips met, and somewhere in the palace their daughter dreamed of the stars. The impossible had happened, and it was only the beginning. As they held each other, whispered the words that would have made her past self laugh. You humans truly do make the impossible happen. Wu held her. That is what we do. And somewhere in the vast universe a new story was being written, A story of two worlds, two species, one family. A story that proved once and for all that nothing is truly impossible. Not when humans are involved.